For the next few minutes, we're your portal to the past, to a ghost town called Burwash, about a half hour south of Sudbury. From 1914 to 1973, the village of Burwash was the site of an industrial prison farm. Criminals from all over Ontario did their time, plowing the fields, raising cattle, and being exposed to an honest, hard-working lifestyle that was in sharp contrast to the criminal behavior that had landed them there. Dave Webb was the last security sergeant to work at Burwash.
The idea of a prison farm, it gives people the wrong idea a little, because there was a lot more than farming went on there. Early in this century, there was some studying done, and they decided that an inmate serving time would be more profitable if he was working. He'd probably be more healthy. So the inmates were expected to, they could choose their job. They went on a work board, but they had to work. So it depended. The inmates would come out in the morning, and there was horses to get ready for the work of the day. The other inmates would be working in the barns. The barns would have to be cleaned, fresh bedding put in. Animals had to be fed every day. Back when they opened the farm in 1914, of course, they didn't have tractors. It was all done by horses. They had dozens of horses on the farm. The inmates ploughed the fields, seeded them, cut the crops. We had our own slaughterhouse there, abattoir. The meat was only used for inmates. It wasn't distributed in the village at all. That wouldn't have been considered a good thing to do, because it wasn't to make cheaper living for the staff, it was to make cheaper ways of keeping inmates incarcerated.
Burwash Industrial Farm was one of the largest reform institutions in 20th century Ontario, and Webb reflects proudly on his 2 decades there as part of this unique correctional process, and why he feels it was a success.
I started work in Burwash in 1957 as a prison guard. So I went on to the farm operation, started off as a farm foreman, worked up to a farm manager. Then when they closed the farming operation in Burwash, I went back to corrections, finished my time there as the security sergeant. When the closing came, I was a little disappointed, because I got to a position that I really wanted and would have liked if that had continued for the rest of my service. It wasn't to be, and I did have a choice of several places with the Ministry of Corrections. None were suitable either to me or them, so I went from a security sergeant to security of Burwash while it was being dismantled, and became a ghost town. I think it was successful. I do believe that even the inmates, the ones that did want to get ahead in life and stop coming to jail, I believe that they believed in it also. And I think it was a very good system, much better than being locked up in a cell or even a day area with other inmates just talking about crimes and what life was like for them on the street.
These old photos show prison inmates gaining valuable work experience, helping to maintain essential services at Burwash and working in the tailor shop where they made their own clothing.
They just worked fairly normal, fairly easy day's work. I think they learned a lot from it. They learned how other people make a living and get by in life without doing crime.
For Accessible Media, I'm Shirley Harrison.